Can you speak to, because you mentioned some of the low points in depression. Through that journey, how did you find your way out? So can you just, a lot of people are sitting in those low points right now listening to this. What kind of wisdom can you draw about finding your way out, finding your people?
There were a lot of really low points. I'll give you the weirdest one. I I started drinking a lot, and alcohol was something that I really wrestled with until my early 30s. And one of the things I'm most proud of today is sobriety and having been sober for such a long time now. And I remember I was just I would like buy a bottle of Old Grandad and like
Mhm.
drink the whole thing by myself and then watch the Oscars. And I remember of all things, I'm watching the Oscars, which is just such a fake bullshit environment. But
Yeah.
I was like, I was really drunk and all those people seem so together and successful and polished. And I just it was that contrast that made me feel like such a failure. Um, and it all seems so stupid and unimportant to me now. Um, I became I got in that constant struggle of try not to drink, but drink to make it feel better. I was lucky, my parents were very supportive of me even in my 20s, even after I, quote unquote, left the house. I went into therapy, and that was very helpful, extremely helpful, and one thing I learned is that you have to find the right therapist for you. It's not just checking a checkbox of I went to therapy, it's about finding somebody who sort of, helps you get out of whatever rut you're in a way that's healthy for you. And, I tried antidepressants, but I just hated taking pills and feeling like something was in me and making me feel different. I never responded to it. And then the hardest thing, which I've never mentioned to anyone and is hard for me to talk about, but eventually I went through ECT, which is electroconvulsive therapy, shock therapy, and that broke me out. And I would never endorse that as a miracle. That was I was at such a low point that people were very worried about me and my well-being
Mhm.
and what was gonna happen, and that was sort of an extreme pull the ripcord, like there's nothing else to lose moment. And, I think that was the difference maker. That and starting at Blizzard.
So I mean, there's a deep loneliness there when before you met those guys at lunch, you're alone, like in a really deep fundamental way. Like in the way you weren't in New York with the writers group, right? And so that must have been an incredible experience just to see the guild.
Yes. It was everything I need. I As such an introvert, you think that there are extroverts and introverts don't need anybody, but weirdly, I think introverts almost need people more,
Hmm.
and we don't always know how to engage
Hmm.
in the right healthy ways and how to find people and how to connect with people. Um, and it was great. Um, what the thing that had attracted me to creative writing was the solitude of it and the fact that you didn't have to collaborate and you could just write what you wanted to write and it was all you. You would succeed on your own or you would fail on your own. And that was very attractive to me. And the thought of creative collaboration was actually off putting. I'd spent all 4 years of undergrad interning at Universal Pictures because I thought I wanted to be in film. And it was such an unhealthy creative collaboration in the film industry. I look up unhealthily to the film industry and admire it and, grew up with all these legends, who had come from there, but it's like a caste system,
Mhm.
and I was on the bottom of the caste system as an intern, and I was seeing how the other people who were low caste in the film industry were treated, and it was just horrible, but games was different. Games was very flat. It didn't matter if you were the CEO or the boss, like, the way Mike and Alan carried themselves with, me who was an associate game designer, you felt like an equal. And I think it not just the camaraderie, but the part that shouldn't be overlooked is the work itself and the work ethic. That's what really pulled me out.
Hard work on a thing you love.
Yeah.